Hello and welcome once again to the Cook Memorial Public Library podcast, where we invite you to spend a few minutes with the staff at Cook Library. Thank you for subscribing and listening. I'm Nate Goss, a librarian here at Cook Library, and I'm sitting with Cindy Hamann, one of our readers' advisors. Cindy leads our monthly YA for Grown-Ups book club and has a young adult book recommendation for us this week. Hey, Cindy.
Hi.
Cindy, before we actually jump into your recommendation, could you maybe just tell us a little bit about the YA for Grown-Ups book club that you do here at the library?
Sure. So the YA for Grown-Ups book club is a new book club that we've just started, and it meets at Aspen every other month. And we come and we all read the same YA book, and then we discuss it, and we're intentionally reading different genres within YA. So our first choice was last year's Prince winner, I'll Give You the Sun. And in March, we're reading Out of the Easy by Rita Septes, which is a historical fiction novel.
Very cool. And if somebody wanted to join you in this book club, how would they go about doing that?
Sure, if you wanted to join, you could feel free to show up at any of our meetings if you've read the book or even read part of it. We offer the books at the library, and if you wanted us to get it for you in advance, if you register for the book club through our website, we're more than happy to get the book for you.
Cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the book that you've got for us this week. What's the book that you want to talk about?
So it's Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli.
Okay. Can you maybe just tell us a little bit about what the book's about?
The whole storyline is one of those cliche storylines we've read 1,000 times, but this book, it breathes new life into it. The book is about essentially two high school kids. It focuses on Simon, and Martin finds out a secret about Simon and now is blackmailing Simon into setting him up with one of Simon's friends. The piece of information that Martin found out is that Simon's gay and that he's emailing Blue. And Simon isn't quite ready to come out, so he's not really sure what to do.
So Blue is a person who Simon is blogging with back and forth?
Yeah, they're actually emailing, which is one of the really
okay.
cool things about the book is that about every other chapter, one chapter is like narrative from Simon's perspective, and then the next chapter is emails back and forth between him and Blue.
Oh, okay.
So it switches off and on, so you get different perspectives.
And how did you find out about this book?
I read a couple of reviews about it, and I was really interested in it, and it looked like it was written really well. And the cover actually is pretty fabulous. It's a picture of Simon, or it's a cartoon character of Simon, and on the back it has like a half-eaten Oreo, because one of the jokes that runs through this whole book is that Simon's addicted to Oreos and that he would spend his entire life eating Oreos if he could.
It's not a bad life.
It's not.
I'd take it. So a mixture of reviews and then just kind of liking the cover as well. Had you heard of the author at all before? Is this kind of her first novel?
Yeah, this is actually her debut novel. And that's kind of something that also drew it to me. I'm also pretty interested in debut authors and kind of seeing what's new out there.
Yeah. It's a really interesting title. Are you able to elaborate on that a little bit? What is the Homo Sapiens Agenda, or is that kind of getting into spoiler territory?
No, I can elaborate on that a little bit. It actually, that phrase kind of comes out in an email between Simon and Blue about midway through the book. But the two of them are both kind of talking about how identity works and how people assume there's a default. Like your default would be white and straight. And they're kind of talking about why do they even have to come out? Shouldn't everyone have to? Because there is no default human being setting.
Sure.
So their entire lives are set as like against the Homo Sapiens Agenda.
I see.
And what's really interesting about the book then is that, I mean, that's a pretty heavy topic and it involves a lot of social issues, but the nice thing about the entire book, it's written really funny.
So it feels light as you're reading these very heavy themes.
Yes. I mean, heavy themes they're not throughout the entire book. There are parts where it happens, but they also spend half the book like making pop culture references and jokes. Like one of the biggest things that was really funny to me is Simon and his parents and his two sisters have this tradition where they'll watch The Bachelor together and a whole bunch of reality TV. You get the idea that the kind of family thing is that they sit down and they watch reality TV and discuss it.
They're part of the Bachelor Nation.
They are. And Simon comes home at one point, I think it's a little later on in the novel, but he comes home and he finds his parents watching a scripted television show, and he's like appalled and shocked because this is the scandal in his life, his parents are watching scripted television.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. This is a teen book. It's geared towards a young adult audience. But, why do you think Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda actually has appeal beyond a teenage audience?
I think a lot of the issues that Simon deals with, while they're very common teen issues, are also people issues. At every stage in your life, you're still trying to figure out who you are and what you want to tell other people about yourself, whether it's an actual secret that you're scared about the results of telling people, or just how you want to develop different relationships. And it's a funny story, and at the end, it's heartwarming, and it's a love story. It's good for every age, right?
Yeah, exactly. Those are pretty universal, I would say. And so, if someone were to read this book and they actually do really like it, do you have any books maybe that they could follow up with, or any titles that if they've read, you really think they're going to dig this book?
Sure. The interesting thing about Simon and the Homo Sapiens Agenda is it's a really interesting blend where it has those heavy topics and it deals with a lot of things that we usually associate with heavy topics. It's an LGBT book, but it's also really, really funny. So in a lot of ways, it reminds me of I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, but it's significantly more lighthearted. In a lot of ways, it's also kind of similar to The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky.
A little bit of a coming-of-age thing going on there.
Yeah, it's a coming-of-age. You have different media where you incorporate the emails as opposed to letters. And similar to Perks of Being a Wallflower, Simon has a really great support network. He has friends that he's known since he was 6 that have his back. He has newer friends that they're really great friends. He can hang out with them, and they're good people. His parents are super supportive. He has sisters that he can rely on. So that same kind of real support network exists. Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan are also pretty close because that also incorporates the funny as well as the deep. So that's a pretty great read to like. And then another one that I really like is The Improbable Theory of Anna and Zach by Brian Ketcher. This is a newer book, and it's a really funny teen romance where it's a little off kilter, but it'll keep you engaged.
Great. You just gave us a whole stack of books now to look into. All right, well, everyone should go check out Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. We're guessing that's how you pronounce that name. It sounds about right.
It looks right phonetically.
Yeah. So, definitely check that out. Cindy, I want to thank you for being on the podcast and giving us all another book to add to our reading list.
Well, thank you for having me. And don't forget to have your Oreos while you read this one.
Definitely. I've got the milk right here, so I don't. So if you want to check out Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda or explore any of the library's collection online, visit cooklib.org to search our catalog. And to read Cindy's full write-up on this book, visit Shelf Life, the library's blog, where the Cook Library team blogs regularly about books, movies, music, genealogy, and library events. That blog can be found over at shelflife.cooklib.org. If the YA for Grown-Ups Book Club sounds like a lot of fun to you, get in touch with Cindy or anyone else in the Popular Services Department so we can get that book to you. What was the next book that you're discussing?
The next one is Out of the Easy.
Okay, and that's March...
It is March 8th at 7 p.m. at Aspen Drive.
Very cool. All right. And as far as the podcast goes, if you'd like to chime in about anything you've heard so far, get in touch. Write to us at webmaster@cooklib.org. And if you like the podcast, support us by sharing with your friends or leaving us a positive rating on iTunes. We'll be back soon, but until then, keep reading, keep watching, and keep listening.